Thank you for coming. About 3:30 yesterday afternoon, our detectives were set up on a house in the 800 block of Avenue B in Marrero. They were preparing to serve a search warrant in reference to a string of one residential burglary and 4 armed robberies that have occurred over the last 5 weeks. They were seeking a suspect, Louis Alexander. Around 3:30, Alexander came out of his residence and observed the presence of the deputies. He fled on foot, which prompted the deputies to secure a perimeter around the area where he was last seen. That scene was active for about 7 hours. About 10:30 last night, he was located underneath a house in the 4000 block of School Road in Marrero. Deputies attempted to get him out from under the house during the apprehension. One deputy discharged his firearm multiple times. Alexander was struck by gunfire. He was eventually got out from underneath the house and transported to a local hospital for treatment.
Jason, how were you all able to track him to that house?
So they had a good perimeter set around the area. They maintained it for several hours. They brought in our K-9 team, our drone team, the air support unit, the helicopter was up doing what they could to locate him. They narrowed down the search area to a block of houses, and they were eventually able to locate him under one of those houses.
And after you located him, were you all able to verbally ask him to get out? I mean, were you sure that he was under there before you had to put in the pepper spray? Was there any communication with the suspect?
Yes, so they tried multiple times to get him to come out once they found out which house he was under. They did deploy chemical agents, OC spray under the house to try to force him to come out and make it uncomfortable under there. He stayed under there. The K-9 units were there. He was informed of their presence, told that they would put a dog in. It didn't come to that. Unfortunately, the deputies did have to fire at him. And then once he was hit, they were able to talk him into coming out from under the house.
What do you know about the suspect?
So he's wanted for a residential burglary that occurred at the end of March, and then a string of armed robberies that occurred between the end of March and beginning of May. From my understanding, he has a pretty extensive criminal history. That's something you'll have to check the court records for. But right now he's going to be booked with what looks like 1 residential burglary and 4 armed robberies that occurred over the last 5 weeks.
Was he armed at the time of the shooting?
So we're going through all of that now. They processed the scene last night. They collected what they could. We have recovered multiple firearms from his vicinity area, living space over the course of the investigation. That's going to be part of what we're looking at going forward.
Can you tell us where in the body he was shot and how serious his injuries are?
I'm sorry, one more time?
Where in the body he was shot?
Multiple times. I think it's an arm or leg, and once in the abdomen. I'm not sure the exact locations. He's in stable condition. I'm not sure if he's still in the hospital, but he may be there for a couple of days.
Can you say what led to the use of lethal force? Was it movement, or if we're not sure if he's armed, do you know why the deputy fired?
So we're doing that now. We're looking at that. The deputy still has to be interviewed. That'll occur sometime over the weekend. Once that interview's done, we can probably provide some more information. But right now, it's our priority is to make sure that it's a clean investigation, that we don't put too much information out until we're able to get that deputy in and get his statement.
Jason, by our count, there have been 5 deputy-involved shootings this year. What happens after one of these to make sure that your people are going according to proper procedure when they have to shoot one of these suspects?
Yeah. So look, every deputy-involved shooting is going to go through an investigation by our homicide section. Those investigations are reviewed by the internal investigators. Once the criminal investigation is done, an internal investigation can occur. And look, I think we've shown over the course of time, if we do have a bad shoot, we're going to do what we have to do. And sometimes, that doesn't go the way that we all want it to go. But in this case, I don't think that's going to be an issue. We haven't had any problems with the other shootings so far this year. The bottom line is the guys are not going out there looking to shoot people. They're responding to the things that happen to them. In those situations, we're not really in control of the suspect's actions, and the suspect's actions are going to dictate ours.
Were these robberies and burglaries recent, and where did they happen? Were they all in Jefferson Parish? All in Jefferson Parish,
all in the West Bank. The residential burglary was March 30th. Robberies were March 31st, I got it right here, April 1st, May 2nd, and May 4th.
Can you tell us any more details about any of them? Are they kind of similar in nature, or can you tell us any more details?
They're all armed robberies. He was armed during all of them. We'll get into more details on those once we're able to make sure those investigations are closed. Same reason we're probably not going to release his mugshot right away. We want to give our investigators the time to close those investigations, make sure they have everything together on those armed robbery investigations. You know, our goal is always to provide a pristine investigation to the district attorney's office to assist in their prosecutions.
So residents and businesses were victims of these?
So 1 residential burglary, as in like breaking into someone's residence, and then 4 business armed robberies.
Jason, where were the weapons recovered? You said you recovered a number of weapons.
We have recovered a couple of weapons through the course of this investigation. I'm not sure the exact locations of the recovery or the time frame of them.
And is there body cam video available?
So there were people on scene last night wearing body cameras. I don't know if the actual shooting was caught on body camera. I'm gonna say it likely wasn't because of the situation where he was under a house. Just physical mechanics, the way you would get to do that, the body cameras are worn on the front of the body. I would expect that we don't have body camera of the actual shooting. That's something the guys are going to take a look at and review all the body camera as the investigation goes on. Prior to the interviews of the deputy involved, that's something we'll look at.
What is your procedure for releasing body cam images, and do you anticipate that will be done in this case?
So we don't have a set procedure as it goes to timeline, or I mean, it's going to be dictated by the investigation, by what's necessary, and you know what the sheriff determines is appropriate. So that there's not really a set timeline for anything like that. We'll take it as it comes.
Did the deputy feel his life was threatened by the suspect under the house?
Well, I mean, that's a question that we're going to ask him when he's interviewed. I couldn't speak to it now.
Can you tell us anything else about what was taken in the robberies and burglaries, and kind of what led you to believe he was the suspect of all of these?
It's a string of incidents. I don't have details on all of them. How they got to him as a suspect, that's part of that robbery investigation. We'll let them get those zipped up, closed up, before we provide a whole lot of information about it.